Bussin'.
The reviews are in.
Awesome.
You wanted more Joe Concha. And we heard you. More Joe. More show.
We're talking to you. Under-promise and over-deliver.
Joe Concha. Weeknights at 9. Plus, Sunday mornings at 11 on 77 WABC.
Jimmy Kimmel no longer tries to be funny. Not that he ever really was.
Joe Concha. Weeknights at 9. Plus, Sunday mornings at 11.
Democrats defending cocaine coming into the country.
Sunday morning. And we had visitors this week. And one of our visitors is John Prideaux. He's the U.S. editor of The Economist and based in London, and brought his two associates with them from London. They flew in just to be able to do this. And they had a mission to find out in America, is the American dream still alive? Well, John Prideaux, what do you think? Is the American dream still alive?
That's what I'm trying to find out, John. We're here celebrating America's 250th birthday. We're just at the beginning of a journey around the country. We're going to be talking to a lot of people. You spent some time talking to us earlier, and we're trying to work out whether the American dream is still alive, whether it's still the kind of amazing story that you've had, whether that's still possible in America, and also whether America is still the same kind of country that it has been for most of my lifetime. I was born in about 1980, so grew up in the kind of Reagan, Thatcher era. Everybody in free societies around the world looked to America as an example of what a free country could be like, looked to America for inspiration. And people outside the US, including like close allies, people who love America, looking at the country now, thinking, hang on, is this still the same place that we thought it was? So I'm trying to answer that too.
Well, you were born in the UK?
Yes, sir.
And so you know a lot about the UK. You lived in the United States, in the States for a long time too, between Washington and New York. It seems like the United States, capitalized-wise, moved a lot faster than the UK has moved since World War II.
Definitely right.
What went wrong in Europe? I'm interviewing you because you interviewed me. What went wrong in Europe where you didn't get the same results in innovation or invention?
This is really uncomfortable for me because I host a podcast as well as my day job. And so it's much easier being on the side of the microphone where you ask the questions rather than answer them. I mean, I guess I'd put it the other way around and talk about what went right in the United States. You know, you have a continent-sized single market, 350 million people who can all create goods and services and sell them to each other. There's very little friction. You can create something in New York and, sell it in California. Deep capital markets. Not too much government intervention, and I think a certain kind of can-do spirit and a greater supply of people like yourself who have taken big risks in the pursuit of different kinds of goals. And I think that Europe and the UK, where I'm from, typically, if you take the average person, they are more risk-averse. You don't have that kind of continent sized market that you guys have here. You don't have deep capital markets in the same way. And you have a lot of innovation, a lot of smart people, a lot of great universities. But I just think the whole culture is more, from a business point of view, is more risk averse.
I grew up, I'm a lot older than you, where the sun never sets on the British Empire. I guess you have a lot of relationships, but it's not necessarily controlled by Great Britain.
Definitely not.
So tell me, how do you feel of what's happened in the last 50 years? And is the sun setting on the British Empire, or you don't feel as strong as before? Versus we've had a discussion where I felt that we're about to have the 250th year of the United States of America, and that if we didn't have the right president that I didn't believe that we might not make the 300th year.
Yeah, I was really struck by that. And as somebody who really likes this country, and one of my sons is American, was born here, the idea that the country might not make it to its 300th birthday is alarming for me. What happened with the British Empire? Well, I think after the Second World War, after that conflict, the country was kind of on its knees, and also took the position that the parts that made up the British Empire should all have the opportunity to determine their own futures. They should all be able to decide for themselves if they wanted to be part of the British Empire, if they wanted to be independent. And they all chose, pretty much without exception, to be independent. And so Britain's unusual, I think, in having given up an empire relatively peacefully. And I think that was mainly a good thing. But one of the things that I think is so interesting now is it feels like that was the dominant way in which the world worked for 50, 60, 70 years. And now it feels like we might be back in an age that's a bit more like the 19th century, where countries are building empires. I mean, we talked about Greenland earlier today. President Trump would like to get his hands on Greenland. Were he to do so, that would expand America's territory, a lot. He's thinking about competition with China, competition with Russia. And that feels a lot more like a return to a kind of imperial age that Britain thought it had left behind. But, maybe we were naive.
And, we discussed that President Trump feels that by controlling the Northern Hemisphere between Europe, Greenland, Northern Canada, Alaska, that we control one side of the Arctic, where Russia and China control the other side. And President Trump wanting to build what he called an Iron Dome to make sure no missiles can be fired into it. And Greenland was a strategic option for Europe's own protection. You're here on a mission to find out more about the American dream. How many cities are you going to be hitting? How many people are you going to be hitting?
That's a good question. How many cities are we going to be in, guys? Like 5 or 6? I think in my time I've been United States editor of The Economist for 10 years. I think I've been to about 40 states. So I've spent a lot of time traveling in the country. I spend a lot of my life here. But on this trip, 5 or 6 cities? We're following the footsteps of a guy who traveled around America in the 1830s, Alexis de Tocqueville, and then he came home to France where he was, and he wrote a book called Democracy in America, explaining to people in Europe what was going on in America. And we're trying to follow his footsteps. And in the 1830s, America was a smaller country. The frontier hadn't pushed west all the way to California. So we're going to be here in New York. He spent some time in New York. We're going upstate. I'm going to be in Sing Sing prison later in this week because he visited Sing Sing. We're going to be in Boston. We're going to be in Louisville, Kentucky, Florida. So a little bit all over the place. I'm looking forward to it.
Now, you're going to be hitting all those cities, and we're doing this interview now, and it'll be on this Sunday in our show. When you finish your mission, we want you to come back to WABC and do another interview and give us your experience of all those 6 cities.
I'd love to do that, John.
Well, John Prideaux, U.S. editor of The Economist, based in London, thank you for being here. Thank you for interviewing me. Thank you for being interviewed by me. And I look forward to meeting you in the near future to give us your adventure for the rest of your trip.
I'll take you up on that offer. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Every week, the Payne family cuts straight to the real financial story.
The one question, Bob, everyone's asking is, are we in an artificial intelligence bubble? You've been through boom and busts. What do you think?
No hype, no myths. Just what actually matters to your money.
Does feel very similar to what we experienced in the 90s. Where are we, though? Are we in 1995, 1997, 1999?
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.